Hello, this is the Doctors Who Read Stuff, and today we're covering chapters 16 and 17 of Mistborn, The Final Empire. Vin is healing from her attack by the Inquisitors. We find out a lot more about Sazed, and we start to find out some details about the book that Vin brought back from Credit Shaw.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned. You don't want to miss what we have to talk about. Hi, my name is Chris.
I'm Chip.
I'm Brian.
And like we said, we are the Doctors Who Read Stuff. And today we are talking about Brandon Sanderson, the Mistborn. Not the Mistborn. Mistborn, the Final Empire.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some whiskey. That'll help.
All right. And we're talking about chapters 16 and 17. Is that right?
That is, in fact, correct, sir.
So chapter 16, we're following up right after Kelsier and Vin did the little raid on Credit Shaw. They were surprised by some Inquisitors, and Vin was stabbed by an obsidian blade and rescued by Sazed. So now Vin wakes after 2 weeks of resting, and there she's talking to Dox. She realizes that there's something very unusual about Sazed. So she's curious about him, kind of how he was able to do what he did to rescue her. She also spends a few more days in Luthadel at Club's shop before they send her back to Fellise, where she actually speaks with Sazed, who's wearing a pair of glasses as he works on translating the book that she found.
You know, I hear very cool people wear glasses.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
I heard that too.
Yeah,
Wow, what a coincidence.
I know.
But as he tells her, he's filling his tin mind with physical sight, which impairs his vision. So as he's going through this whole translation, he's using certain powers that we really don't know much about yet. But I'm very intrigued about Sazed right now. They briefly talk about what the Keepers are, and Sazed tells Finn that all Terraceman stewards are eunuchs. And Sazed admits to knowing 172 languages, most of which are no longer spoken after the Lord Ruler's unity movement of the 5th century. Then chapter 17 is actually a pretty short chapter. Not really short, but not a lot. There's not a lot there's a lot of resting and kind of exposition, and we learn some stuff. But chapter 17, Vin kind of laments about, it's been a long 4-week recovery. She's very bored. Different members of the crew arrive at House Renault, provide updates. Vin finally talks to Kelsier and convinces him to let her attend an upcoming ball. Later, Vin and Kelsier talk a bit more about Mare and Kelsier's motivations with kind of all of this resistance and stuff that's going on.
All right, let's get to it. So, it's interesting that, you know, like, so Vin's healing and she's got like all this time to just like be in her own head, which probably isn't a great idea.
Right.
No,
right.
not for her right now.
But what I thought was interesting was like why she was like, well, what if she wants to keep going and she wants to keep doing what's asked of her, because what if she becomes useless, or what if they stop needing her?
Right.
Yeah.
And that, again, it kind of alludes to how she was brought up and the circumstances and the environments she has been in prior to this. And it's like so hard for her to shake all of that and be like, no, these people actually care.
But I also feel like some of that too is she's becoming more accustomed to this lifestyle, and she doesn't want to have to go back to the way things were.
Yeah, I think that's some of it. Yeah. And like she keeps hearing things that Reen said. Reen is her brother. Like she just hears things that he said in her head, and she alludes to the fact that he knew when to leave, and it makes me wonder if he's not going to reemerge at some point.
Yeah, he's been kind of, his name's been dropped a few times. That
yeah.
It seems like maybe he's not really gone.
Right.
Another thing I thought with kind of Vin's internal thoughts and dialogue here. It was kind of interesting as she's learning about allomancy, and Kelsier's teaching her all these things in the prior chapters. They go to this raid on Credit Shaw. You know, Kelsier is always full of confidence, whether he's internally is or isn't. You know, he puts out that front that he's very confident that, you know, there's nothing he can't do. But I feel like it was kind of come to Jesus, or a moment where Vin realizes that, even though we're Allomancers, we're not invincible.
Mm-hmm.
We just got our butts kicked.
Right.
And
like hard.
like,
Yeah.
we're very much mortal. They could kill us. There's a lot of stuff that I really don't know yet. Or I felt like there was a lot of that kind of realization for her that, even though I've learned a lot in the last few months, I don't know what I need to know to be able to pull this thing off.
Well, because she said, like, even though they got their butts kicked, she's like, Kelsier got out of there with hardly a scratch.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, I need to
step up her game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to the point where one of the interesting things, like she was burning a metal to help with her strength, and I don't remember offhand which one it was.
Pewter's the one that
Pewter,
helps her heal.
Yeah, and maybe that was it. But Kelsier actually was like, hey, don't burn that too much because you'll become dependent.
Which I thought was a great mechanism,
Right.
because my first thought was, well, if you can burn it and you have an unlimited amount of it, just burn it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, if it impedes your normal functioning ability to
Well, it
move,
almost,
yeah,
and
to
it
do
almost made it sound like a drug at that point,
Right.
too. That
Exactly.
she
Become
could become
addicted to
dependent
it.
on it, and to where she can't function without it. And I thought that was kind of an interesting, it's like, even though they've got all these powers and skills that the metals give them, there's also some of these drawbacks, or these things they need to be wary of as well.
But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was we learned a lot about Sazed without actually learning a lot about Sazed.
Right. Yeah, just the fact that he's the one that came in and rescued her said that there's a lot more to this guy than...
Yeah. So, like, So he compares keepers to storehouses. They remember things so that they can be used later. And he says that Vin draws allomantic powers from metals. Sazed uses them to create memories. Maybe that's where the term metal mind comes from.
It could be. We still don't know what that is.
We don't know what it is, but as we read more, I'm starting to try to piece things together, because it's like I think I said it an episode or two ago. It's like every time we hear a little tidbit about the Lord Ruler, that's what I find myself writing the most notes on, because he's like this elusive mythology.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to pin him down, but I'm starting to get almost the same type of fascination with Sazed.
Well, and the fact that the Lord Ruler seems to fear the Terrace Men.
Right.
And basically hunted them to extinction. They go through a sterilization process when they're being trained as stewards or whatever.
That's called chopping off the pee-pee.
Yeah.
They're all eunuchs.
Yeah.
So he controls the Terrace Men's reproduction. They're not allowed to have a family or to bear children.
Right.
Yeah. And what Sazed says, and this is what kind of made me kind of go back to Dune. But he says, Terrace Men are fabricated automatons created by breeding programs, trained from birth to fulfill the Lord Ruler's wishes.
So they're the Mentats.
Mentats, and also you had like the Bene Gesserit breeding programs and things like that. So there are still parallels that we're drawing.
And I feel like the human computer, the Mentat, and the mind, and all this information that they maintained in Dune, it feels very similar here. And I don't know, I'm very impressed with how Sanderson's just kind of laid these seeds out there that kind of have led us towards this. Sazed was just kind of a peripheral character until all of a sudden he wasn't.
He's really important now. Yeah.
Now he's very important, and I feel like he's got a much bigger part to play going forward, but I don't know what that is.
Right. Yeah. And I think the last major aha moment in this chapter was when Vin asked Sazed who betrayed Kelsier 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he answered that most of the crew think that it was his wife, Mare.
Yeah. But he doesn't think it was Mare.
Right. Wait, Sazed doesn't? Or
no,
Kelsier
doesn't.
Yeah.
Kelsier doesn't.
But the Lord Ruler himself seemed to implicate Mare. So, yeah. Which does lead us into chapter 17, and we kind of have that opening paragraph, And as I kind of read that, I think more and more, and we find this out a little bit later, that maybe I'm right, or maybe Chip was right.
Ooh, again?
That's a first.
2 for 2.
But this seems to be like the perspective of a man who has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and that seems to be the Lord Ruler.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we read chapter 17, we start to figure out, okay, I think the pieces are starting to come together a little bit. One of the things, and I don't remember if it is in this chapter or the last chapter, but Marsh is... Let me go back because I don't want to get it wrong. Because she asked about the party. Marsh is going to impersonate an Inquisitor?
Yes.
What the hell? That's stupid.
That is a terrible idea.
That's a bad idea. Nothing good will come of this.
And Kelsier says, so she says, Marsh, will he do it himself? This is on page 229 of the hardback. Kelsier says, he's always had a certain fascination with the ministry. If any Scott can pull off imitating an obligator, it will be Marsh.
Oh, obligator.
So obligator,
Sorry.
not an
Obligator.
Inquisitor, but an
There you go.
obligator.
But still...
She didn't have to put the spikes through his eyes, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't want to fully commit himself to the role...
Yeah, I mean, you got to be a method actor at that point, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Anyway, but yeah, I just remembered that, and I was like, well, look, that was something that stood out to me as incredibly stupid. But what do I know?
One of the things is in these chapters too, there's, I think we said it in our last episode a little bit or talked about it, whereas with Kelsier, with kind of the actions and the attack on Critic Shaw and then nearly being killed, that it really pushed him to change as a character. And I think, for the better in general, but I think it was a necessary change that for him to
he's
actually lead this resistance, he needs to be more
and
grounded, more aware,
more cautious,
all of this.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's setting him up to be that kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi type character that I feel like he's going to have to make some sort of sacrifice here, either before the end of the trilogy or the end of the book. That I can't see him surviving the books, all three of them right now. I think that it's Vin's story, and I think he's there to get her to a point, and then something's going to happen to him, and she's going to carry this forward on her own. Yeah. Or with Sazed, or with, she's going to have the resistance behind her. But but I just feel like he's really setting himself up, or Sanderson's really setting him up as this kind of a sacrificial hero at this point.
Yeah, and one of the things in 17 that kind of interested me was the revelation that they brought in new Ska servants to Mansion Renault.
Sure.
Because it would have been suspicious to the other houses if they were unable to get servant spies into the mansion, which means that Vin has to constantly be in character. Nobody can go around talking about the job and the true aim of what they're trying to do. And so that was interesting to me because it adds a lot of risk.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when Kelsier and Doxson and the crew show up and they're like, okay, we're going to have our meeting here. I'm like, you freaking idiots.
So, then Kelsier steps out onto the balcony and it's like anyone in the world could see him.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
But part of me says he needs to be seen too.
True.
On some levels, but by the right people.
Right.
It's gone on.
Right.
One other thing I thought was kind of interesting by the end of 17 was where Vin, prior, and it was, she'd hear Reen's voice in her head, and, you shouldn't stick around with this crew, and don't trust them, and by the end of 17, she's anxious to get back into her role with this crew. She wants to get back to going to the ball. She wants to go back to being a Lady Valette. She wants to, do her part and play her role within this crew.
Well,
so that they can
and
keep
she wonders if Elend will be there.
Yeah. He's an interesting character, too. Just the brief introduction we've had to him, I definitely want to know more about him and more about Sazed going forward.
Well, and I think we're going to find out.
Oh, you don't think that was the only time that no, see him? Okay.
Call me psychic.
Yeah.
But no.
Hi, Psychic. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
What circles do you run in? Beer circles?
Beer circles.
For the inside joke on that, please check out our episode, The Final Stout
Slobberknocker.
I don't know.
The doctors who
The last stout episode we put up for the doctors who drink stuff.
It's in the can. So.
Anyway.
It's a movie term. When they used to film on film, they put it in the can and it was ready. Yeah.
You'd love it in the can, Chip.
That's not what I heard.
Or was that me?
So actually,
that was me.
I think that was the badge you earned.
Yeah. Chip brings up a good word. If I can use the word film to transition over to the picture. Do you guys remember the picture at the very end?
Oh, the flower?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The flowers.
There we go. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't read too far.
Nope.
I was like...
We're still on chapter 17.
Picture of the film.
The flower, Flower, not.
Yes.
Not the baking.
Not the bag of flour.
Yeah.
But it really, this kind of begs the question, okay, not only have there been other plants on this, in this universe, but it happened at a point where technology was advanced enough to capture this on film.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this going?
Well, was it film or was it an illustration?
They said a photograph.
Okay.
And so when I think of
it,
I thought it was and Chip has the book in front of him, but I think she said photograph. Or that Kelsier said photograph, that Mare had the photograph with her.
I honestly didn't pay that much attention to that part. So.
Oh, sure. No, you're good.
But good job out of you.
I was really surprised to see that, all right, well, this is... I always like drawing similarities to our world, or like, where does this universe fit into what we know? And this almost...
He's checking to make sure you're not full of crap.
I'm good with it.
I'm just kind of skimming to see.
But this almost feels like, and of course my wife is big into like the post-apocalyptic world, like dystopian universe, but like this almost feels like it could be a part of the same future of our current history. I mean, like, you almost wonder if it, is just 1,000 years into our future.
Yeah.
Which I have some other theories if you're available for them.
We've got time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering. So Mare is an interesting character, and it seems like without being in scope of a lot of these chapters, she's not the main focal point. She just comes up periodically from Kelsier's conversation.
Yeah. But we learned that she was allegedly the one that betrayed. Yeah.
That she betrayed Kelsier.
Okay, so the paragraph. So Kelsier reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. He unfolded it with a gentle touch, then handed it to Vin. She accepted the sheet, holding it carefully. It was so old and worn that it seemed close to breaking at the creases. It didn't contain any words, just an old, faded picture. It depicted a strange shape, something like a plant, though not like one Vin had ever seen. It was, too, flimsy. It didn't have a thick stalk, and its leaves were far too delicate. At its top, it had a strange collection of leaves that were a different color from the rest. It's called a flower, Kelsier said.
So it was a picture. It was not a...
But it doesn't...
I stand corrected.
But the picture could still...
I mean, it could
be a photograph.
It could
be
mean... Photograph, but...
Shoot, I had something else I was going to say there, but go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, but my point is, we're learning so much about Mare just from her not even being here.
Yeah.
I mean, where does this go? We know that she supposedly died in the pits, but did she? Like, her last known whereabouts.
Yeah, because it's almost like the Reen character, where she's come up so many times. It's like, is she going to reemerge at some point in this plot?
Well, and kind of like, so going back to the book, I don't know for sure if Mare betrayed me, Kelsier said, looking back at the sunset. She always claimed that she didn't. And she was sent to the pits, right? Vin said. That doesn't make sense if she sided with the Lord Ruler. Kelsier shook his head, still staring into the distance. She showed up at the pits a few weeks after I was sent there. We were separated, after we were caught. I don't know what happened during that time or why she was eventually sent to Hathsin. The fact that she was sent to die hints that maybe she really didn't betray me, but... He trailed off. You didn't hear him when he caught us, Vin. The Lord Ruler, he thanked her. Thanked her for betraying me. His words, spoken with such an eerie sense of honesty, mixed with the way that the plan was set up. Well, it was hard to believe, Mare. That didn't change my love, though. Not deep down. I nearly died when she did a year later, beaten before the slave masters at the pits. That night after her corpse was taken away, I snapped.
Oh, Oh, that brings up another good point. But my first point was that she was in the pits, but he had already escaped. So I don't think he had actually witnessed her death.
No, he was still there when she died.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking that there is still a connection between the Lord Ruler and her. And what is her
Something's
connection?
going on there.
There's some, especially with the timing, the difference between he went and then she appeared later on.
You know,
like
did the
what
Lord Ruler
happened?
have some control over her that she couldn't help what she did?
Exactly.
Or, that he manipulated her, or who knows? What...
Ooh.
Looks like he might have had an idea or a thought.
So, what if, and if you've already read this and you're watching this, you're going to be like, dude,
You're stupid.
whatever you're drinking, I need some of that. But
He's heard it before.
I've heard it before. Yeah, every day. So, at one point, Kelsier laments that he and Mare never had children, that there was never a piece of her that lived on. But what if she did? What if it's Vin?
So the mother that Vin may have known may not have been her real mother in that case.
Or father.
And the father might not have actually been the father.
Might have been not have been the obligator.
She might have been like the contractual result of a relationship. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Vin's parentage is one we really haven't dove into much.
Yeah.
We've only gotten that, well, her mother was kind of abusive, and did she kill her sister or tried to kill her sister?
She might be a Palpatine.
Something could be.
Oh, could be.
But she really wants to be a Skywalker.
Right.
I don't know. Talking about Vin and talking about actually going back to the Lord Ruler and the structure of the story, and reading a little bit of Brandon Sanderson's annotations and talking about his thoughts as he wrote these chapters, he said that one of the ideas for writing the whole book in general was, I'd like to take kind of the trope of this kind of lowly peasant character rising up to become a hero, but kind of making some mistakes and taking the other path and maybe not being such a good ruler, or maybe going down, Breaking Bad, if you will.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought to think that, maybe the Lord Ruler had good altruistic visions of what he wanted to do, but ultimately just succumbed to his power, or, had something else that came up that's like, oh, now that I've got all this power, I can just do this other stuff and to hell with everybody else.
So
Sure.
what I wanted to touch on briefly before we ended was the book that she brought back. Or
Oh,
that she
yeah.
had
The
when-
Lord
when
Ruler's
Sazed-
story. Or, yeah.
And Sazed has been busy trying to translate this thing, and he comes to the conclusion that it's the Lord Ruler's basically journal or memoirs before he was.
Which I
the
can't remember
Lord
if we
Ruler.
said at the last episode, but I think that's the epigraphs at the
Right.
beginning of each chapter
Right.
is
Yeah.
the translations of this
And
book.
so I started reading those in 16 and 17. I'm like, yeah, I think Chip's right. And then I got there and I was like, wait a minute. What if the epigraphs are really pieces of Sazed's translation? I think we were on the same page.
I think so.
Yep.
So
So
cool.
that's what
Yeah.
I went back and I started reading through the epigraphs from the beginning, and that might be a good topic for further into the book. Once
Yeah,
you
I
get
think so.
down the road to say, because it's almost like a book within the book, if you will.
Yeah,
It's-
because
I think we
it's
need to
kinda
get
if it tells the story of how he went from altruistic hero to
the son of a armor smith or a
Yeah.
metal smith
Yeah.
of some sort, wasn't he? Or a blacksmith.
So yeah, that's.
To become this Muad'Dib.
I'm interested to see where those go.
I am too.
So
I'm interested to see where all it goes. I know I had some criticism on a few chapters ago on just how it was kind of forced with the whole raid on Critic Shaw, but it was necessary to move certain things into
Right.
place so that he could set up the culmination of the book. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
we're about at the halfway point.
Yep.
So once again, every Wednesday we will be coming at you with an additional episode. If you have stumbled across this by accident and you're like, I haven't read this book, what the heck's going on? There's a link in the bio. No, it's not a bio, it's a description. Right?
It is the
It's
description.
not your bio.
It's not my bio. It's a description.
Yeah.
There's a link to an Amazon page where you can buy this book. If you do that, we will get a cut, a small cut, because Amazon's greedy.
Stingy.
Greedy.
Great.
But it will help us to get better equipment, pretty us up, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that that's gonna. Yeah, whatever. Maybe you guys. But
I don't know if you
I
guys
don't think
can
there's
look
much
any
that
better.
can pretty me up.
I
So
don't know. Same for
I might-
myself.
If I get enough money, I might pop my collar.
there you go.
That's a lot of money.
Oh, jeez, that looks terrible. I'm not gonna do that ever again. Yeah.
See, Brian, I didn't wear collars.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed the video, please click the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. If you are on social media, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TDW Podcast, Facebook.com/TDW Podcast. And lastly, you can find us on our website at www.tardiscast.com. We not only cover things that we're talking about here, we also discuss things like Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
I've been blogging about the future of Lucasfilm and where I think that might be going. So if that sort of thing is up your alley, please check us out.
Sweet.
And we will see you in 7 short days.
Yes.
Maybe less if you're watching this on like a Saturday or Sunday.
Or binging it. Yeah.
Or binging it, yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.
Alonzi.